Let's jump right into this. Research shows that we can actually sustain high levels of performance later in life, later than most people thought. But you're learning, right? I mean, you are a big researcher and you practice this. I understand that you've taken up a new challenge when we go into that.
Basically, the general thinking now is all the skills we used to think declined over time, both cognitive and physical. And if you never stop using them, you never stop training them, as you pointed out, you get to hold on to them and even advance them much later in life than anybody thought possible. I have been studying peak performance aging for 20 years, on and off in different guises, and there was a whole bunch of stuff in my own field in flow science, in body cognition, in neurodynamics, and a handful of other fields that I was looking at all the research and I said, if this research is true, I should be able to learn a really impossible, difficult, physical, challenging activity in my 50s. At 53 is when I started this question. So I took a bunch of these ideas and I combined them together into a learning protocol, and I used it to try to teach myself how to park ski at age 53. Now, park skiing, it's the discipline in skiing that involves doing tricks off jumps, on rails, on boxes, on wall rides. Very acrobatic, very dangerous. And for about 13 different biological factors, it's considered pretty difficult to learn if you're over 30, 35. By the time you get to 45, it's nearly impossible. And once you get to 50, or where I started at 53, most people just think you're insane for trying. And the research said otherwise. So, we combined it in a cool way. I sort of made a list of 20 tricks that would cover like 0 to intermediate. I figured if it takes 5 years to pull this off, cool, it takes 5 years. It took me 5 years to learn something. I got there in under a season, and it was so fast, and I learned so quickly. It was shocking. I had never park skied before, 0 experience, right? I was a good skier, but 0 experience at the terrain park. My partner was a former sponsored athlete, a park skier, but he had gotten really injured, walked away from it, had 3 kids, raised a family, jobs, all that, came back to it, and he was making crazy progress, like faster than we've ever seen, and he couldn't believe it. And this was sort of like the world's most intriguing pilot study ever. We then took the same protocol. We ran 17 older adults ages 30 to 68 through the same protocol, and in 4 days with this protocol, we also trained all of them up park ski. And you have to understand, some of these people were intermediate skiers in their late 60s, and when we had our preliminary team meeting, they were like, I have never left the ground in 50 years of skiing, and I'm not gonna start now, like that kind of like, really. And I was like, we went into that experiment, I was like, I don't think this is gonna work. Like, these people really don't seem into it. Like, okay, it's definitely a good study group, but I think we're gonna fail. And they all went so much farther, faster than anybody thought possible. And we since actually took the skiing and snowboarding out of it, stripped it of the action sports requirements, and ran about 500 people through the protocol as just like a peak performance aging training to see huge impact on everybody's life. So we are definitely capable of far much more than we know later in life, and that includes learning really difficult, challenging physical skills that are really supposed to be impossible for folks who are over the age of 30. You just have to approach it in a sort of specific way.